friends and a kitchen table have brought a new twist to an old craft.
I was in a store buying a large amount of gift wrap, and I said to the cashier, this is such a waste. All I can picture is the bags and bags of garbage at Christmas. Do you sell reusable gift wrap? And she said, no, but that's a really good idea. And I literally got in my car and I said, I am going to do this.
Monica O'Neill phoned her good friend and fellow Belmont resident, Cindy Estes, then a children's clothing store owner, to ask if she had any ideas. One look at the scraps of fabric discarded in clothes manufacturing, and Rapt was born. Out of reusable, discarded, and sometimes just easily accessible fabric.
The fabric that I had from the children's line, and then Monica actually took down curtains from a house that she moved out of.
Fabric supplies were plentiful when the seeds of this company were planted, but without the use of scissors and tape, how to put it all together?
We spent a long time trying to figure out how to close it because it's fabric and we knew we wanted to hem it so it wouldn't fray. And so we just kind of played around. We bought snap tape, we attached Velcro, we attached long ribbons, and everything looked kind of messy.
They found the answer in the revered Japanese art of furoshiki, the use of fabrics to wrap and transport items.
We realized if you turn your box on a diagonal as opposed to parallel like you do with paper, all of a sudden you have the ends to tie it.
The team uses a factory in Fall River to sew clean line edges, and the scraps from that process, they use those too.
So we're taking that and we're shredding it and then using it in different kind of accents.
From yarn pom-poms to pretty bows.
We call this our statement flower.
And eye-popping flowers that feel like gifts themselves. We wondered, how easy is it?
This is stunning. So how do we go from this to something like this? Look at that. And then you can just take it all apart and do it again.
The one-of-a-kind wrappings have fueled an almost addictive world of possibilities.
I've been unraveling some sweaters.
So is your husband nervous that you're gonna like take down everything fabric in the house?
Well, I have taken over my son's room, but other than that, no, I think it's okay.
So this room here is fulfillment?
This is our fulfillment department.
And this was?
My son's bedroom. What you see on the bottom shelf is the cut fabric. It looks like a layer cake.
Orders arrive in these cute, also reusable boxes, unique adornments included.
My name is Cindy Estes, and our company is Rapt Giftwrap.
And my name is Monica O'Neill, also Rapt. And Rapt is sustainable gift wrap, fabric gift wrap that replaces single-use gift wrap, and it's easy, elegant, and eco-friendly.
Look at that, see? Look at that, that was so easy. It's just like, you just like went in there, you said your names, it was perfect. I loved it. Hello, ladies, how are you?
Hi, Jodi.
Hello, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you as well. One of my favorite things about, so I started this podcast, April 2020, when all of our small businesses all over were like, I go, oh, look, our regular source of revenue is going to change. Oh, isn't this interesting? What will I do with my time? So as a former media person, I started a podcast, and I never in a million, I mean, really, if you had told me in February I was going to have a podcast, I'm like, no, I don't want to. I'm done with the media. I was in the media for 10 years, and now I'm back. But it's been really great because I'm meeting amazing people that I would have never met, and I get to hear your stories. So this is where we start. Before we talk about your company, we have to know who you are. Who are you? So individually, who's Cindy and Monica? Little Cindy and Monica. Where'd you come from, and where are you guys now?
You want to start?
Yeah, sure. So I grew up in Los Angeles. I moved to Boston years ago, story about a boy. It all worked out. I have 4 kids, and when my first girl was born, I started making clothes. So I had a children's clothing line for about 8 years, I'd say. And right as that was kind of slowing down, Monica called and asked if I was interested in helping start a reusable fabric gift wrap. And that's how it started for us.
Oh, Cindy. You just fast forwarded really quickly. We have time to talk. So because you were just like, I go, oh, this is like the news where you have only 30 seconds to talk. No. We're here together for a little bit.
That time.
We're going deep. Okay.
So Los Angeles girl ends up in Boston, but there's so much in between the boy, the 4 kids. So how was it? Look, how was it being raised in Los Angeles? I go, and how did it get to the point where you are now creating clothes for kids?
So I come from one of those long lines of women that really enjoyed shopping. There's not many different ways to say that. I grew up, at the equivalent in Los Angeles of Filene's Basement. It was called Loman's. And mom and grandma, we'd go there for hours scouring racks for stuff. And you ended up in that horrendous changing room where everyone's naked together.
Awful.
I don't miss that at all. You know what? I'm sorry.
Right.
Thank God that's like, I know it still exists. It's still there, but holy hated that when I was younger.
Hated it.
Exactly.
Everybody
and when you're
hated it.
12, 13,
Oh,
it's just the worst, but it was a way to get some really cool stuff. So grew up that way, studied graphic design, worked as a graphic designer at actually the Museum of Contemporary Art in Los Angeles. Through my college best friend in high school, came back here and went to college in DC, and that's how I met my future husband, who is from Boston, actually Belmont. So then I came out after years of negotiating and wooing, I'd say. We got married, I came out, and then I worked for a little while as a designer here, but then when I had kids, it was just unsustainable. I wasn't doing interesting design work because I would go in part-time, and then I was doing kind of the, just like bottom basement stuff. I wasn't able to do the more creative work. So then when my second child was born, I think all that creative kind of design energy went into making clothes for her, because I wanted stuff that I could throw in the washing machine and the dryer. I wanted to look cute on her. At the time there were these Baby Lulu, it was called, and it was cotton and it was beautiful prints, and I put them on her. They were leggings and a layette, and she looked like a stuffed sausage. It was looked horrible. So I started building stuff and making out of quilting cottons because they wash so well. They had beautiful kind of more mature prints.
So pretty.
And I started a line. It was called Seam Collection, and went to trade shows. And at some point we sold to Barney's, and we were in Chasing Fireflies. It went a lot of places, but it never turned the corner of being from red financially to black financially. So after a while, the kids got older, so I wasn't able to build it for their bodies. And so that was, it all happened at the same time that Monica had this come to Jesus about gift wrap.
Okay, pause. We're not there yet. We're still not there yet. Now we go to Monica.
Okay.
Monica, where did you start out?
Born in New York City, but shortly as a child, about age 6, moved overseas to South America, to Chile, where I went to school, having not speaking a word of English, a word of Spanish. We were tutored around the dining room table with my 6 siblings and my mother. We're all tutored, and then we're plunked into a Chilean school. And of course, at 6 years old, you learn immediately. And so from there, back to Cleveland, Ohio, then Venezuela, and then high school in Morocco, and graduated from the American School of Tangier. So needless to say, I do not have a hometown, but I call Belmont my hometown, but I don't have the accent to say I'm from Boston.
But you do have an accent. I'm listening to you, and I'm like, and it is like, you have a very unique accent. And I'm like, where could she be from? And it's so, just because you just named all those things. And by the way, I was in Morocco in January 2020. Love it. Love it. I love that we have a direct flight here from Boston now, which is on par. But I haven't
been back since high school, and I'm embarrassed to say, but we were going to go on a trip. We were planning, it got canceled years ago. But so no hometown, but had a great experience. My dad was in international business, and best experience of my life to obviously having to leave friends was really tough, and especially in like 10th grade, when you've got the boyfriend and all the good friends. But moved to Morocco. It was just a really great experience, and started to learn French in Morocco. And so I became really, really interested, and that's what I ended up studying at university. And I was a French major and ended up becoming a French teacher. And that's what brought me to Massachusetts. Was I worked as a French and Spanish teacher at St. Mark's in Southborough, and then went to graduate school at BC, and then taught at Roxbury Latin as a French teacher. They didn't offer Spanish at the time, but anyway. And I met my husband at St. Mark's. We were both young faculty members. And
wait, that's not allowed.
We tried to keep it on the down low, but we think the students knew it. It was funny. We ran into a student years after she graduated, and she's like, "So, did you ever see Mr. Jennings anymore?" I'm like, "Yeah, we actually got married." It's kind of funny. And so then ended up in Massachusetts because of St. Mark's. And then I don't know how we ended up in Belmont. I can't even remember. I think randomly. I think we just sort of looked at houses here or something, or had a condo here in the beginning. But I don't remember why Belmont. But then I was doing my PhD in French studies when my first child was born. He was premature. So did a little bit of a pivot from, like adorable little baby boy to, in medieval French literature. It was like, so I went back to school for a while he was, he was in the hospital for a little bit, and then while he was younger, but then kind of pivoted. And so I'm, all but dissertation type thing with the PhD. So I can't say I have a PhD, but so that's,
I feel like I go even without the degree. If you've committed that much time, PhD in my mind, you got it.
But so then I stayed home and raised the kids and volunteered, and being a mother was the best job I've ever had. Love it, and still love it, although I'm kind of an empty nester now. So and Cindy and I became friends because our kids are both at the same elementary school. So we kind of met on the playground or at a friend's house and kind of in her backyard.
So this isn't just like where Cindy's like, you're like, Monica called me. You've known each other for a long time.
Yeah. And bought Cindy's clothes, and we've socialized, and
Our kids did a kindergarten project together where you had to build a medieval castle cake. So we actually have a photograph of that.
It's so bad. It's so lame.
It's so bad.
And we actually did it. Like, we can't even blame it on the kids. It was really that was our bad cake.
Yeah, but we let them put the Lego on top.
We were trying to compete with these like really professional parents who had been baking cakes for years, and we thought, we'll take a turn this year. It was so bad. Yeah, it tasted good though.
There's that movie Bad Moms. You're just describing situations like that too, where there's like, prestige moms that like literally everything is so like decoupage and blah blah blah, and then you're like, God, this is such a Pinterest mess up. All right, so now the phone call comes. So Monica, you're doing this by yourself. You start this project. Why did you start this project? What was the need for it, and when did you decide to pick up the phone and call Cindy?
Yeah, I can tell you exactly the time. I was at a store about 4 years ago, I think it was now. I celebrate Christmas, and I was buying wrapping paper, and I have 3 kids and a very large extended family, and I'm a little bit OCD. I have to wrap every
Not
kid.
a little bit.
I have to wrap every kid in a different wrapping paper. Anyway, so I was buying a lot of gift wrap with the tags and the bows, everything to match. And I was literally at the cashier buying with my cart full of stuff, and I just like random, I don't know why I was talking to the cashier like this, but I said, this is such a waste. All I can picture is the bags and bags of garbage at Christmas. This is like ridiculous. And I said, do you guys sell reusable gift wrap? And she said, no, but that's a really good idea. And I literally got in my car and I was like, I am going to do this. And I just had this idea. I was like, why are we doing this? Why we've been for years. My mother wrapped with, everybody's been wrapping with wrapping paper forever. And I just was like, this is just dumb that we're doing this. And so I picked, the first person I called was my sister, actually, because I figured she'd tell me if it was a stupid idea, and she'd look crazy. So I was on the phone, and I was Christmas shopping, and I was so distracted. I was that obnoxious person in the store who's talking the whole time they're shopping, at the register talking still, because I was so excited about the idea.
But my favorite part is that you bought the wrong sizes.
I bought all the wrong sizes. I bought the wrong, the sizes, the wrong colors. I was just distracted thinking I could multitask, which I never can well. And so my sister thought it was really good idea too. And then, so we just chatted for them. Then I got in the car and I called Cindy because I knew she knew all about fabric, and I thought she might be interested. And we just started talking, and you know, she loved the idea. What's interesting, Jodi, is by the time, like it was maybe 25 minutes to get home. By the time I got home, I had done bad Christmas shopping, but then we had decided to like sort of partner up, and we'd come up with the name Rapt. We went back and forth. I wanted to come up with a 4-letter word that would work a seam, because I thought Cindy might do it as an extension of her company, or maybe as a something complimentary. And so we also really liked the name, and the phonetics of it was good. And we literally that week, I went over to her house, and Cindy has a sewing machine. We bought fabric. We just started playing around and working on, but that was the origin story. Sort of that's exactly where it started.
Yeah.
What was the hardest part? So now the idea came. You now have a partner in crime. What was the hardest part for you? Because Monica, Cindy, you've already gone through a business, and now the business is starting to like evolve out of. And so, and this has been your baby for how many years did you run the business?
About 8 years. Yeah.
8 years. That's 8 years of your blood, sweat, and tears.
Yeah.
And so now
thinking of it as a business in the beginning, we were kind of just like, let's play. Like we didn't form a corporation and get legal document. You know, you don't remember like that?
Yeah, I don't.
Okay.
I thought it
Cindy
was
has a better memory.
Well, no, but I just like when you called me, it was let's start a business to create this, and you pretty quickly went to the town and got like
I got the
proper prop and all that stuff, and filled out the form so that we could start exploring.
And we worked on a prototype. The beginning just was like, how do you do it? We knew it should be fabric, because what else would you use? I mean, I know there's like reusable paper out there, but we just thought fabric is the logical solution. And we started sort of playing around with how we're going to do it, what size fits different things. We were trying to figure out how you close it. So we bought snap tape, which is a strip, it's on hospital uniforms, has snaps and even spacing. And so we tried snap tape, we tried Velcro, we tacked ribbons.
Well, also we ordered everything we could that was at all similar online to look at it. And one of the things was someone had taken the idea but it wasn't reversible, and it had like basically fabric, but it was the ribbon idea. So you would wrap it around and tie it.
To the thing.
Yes, and it was attached to it. And we got it and played with it and felt like it was restrictive in terms of how you could wrap it. And so because the ribbon was on the side, like you would regularly wrap a paper gift, you had to put the gift centered in the middle, like you would when you use paper. Whereas we discovered that if you put the gift on a diagonal in the middle, you had much more use. You could use it for a much wider range. And that was kind of one of the moments where it changed for us. We're like, you can just tie a knot here.
All of a sudden you have the fabric to tie it, because you've got it on an angle.
Yeah.
Instead of doing it parallel to the paper, like you do with paper.
So I'm going to rewind you, but I am going to rewind you a little bit, because I didn't get the answer here. Was Cindy, you had a business. Why was this like? I mean, so you had a business. It was going down. It was. I was saying going down.
No, it wasn't. Yeah, absolutely.
It evolved out of what you had decided where you wanted it to be. What was that moment where you decided that I'm ready to do this again, or were you even ready to do this again? And was it Monica that's basically got you excited again about business? Because because you're on your second, you're a serial entrepreneur. You're a serial.
Yeah, I don't even know what to call myself.
You're a serial entrepreneur. I'm putting the name on it. So how was it for you, where you were like, your baby is now leaving the nest, and now a new baby is coming in. You're like, what's the emotional, like, how did you deal with that at that time?
Shift. So I also have 4 kids. So they kept me busy also. But there's this, for me, I was able to pivot from creating the clothes to it more of like the graphic design space, which is my history. And like I always say, the only thing I was ever paid to do. So I was able to shift into that mode, which made it actually more successful in a way, because like with Seam, I was always trying to hire out. I didn't have a partner. It was just me. So everything I did outside of my own sewing, I was paying for. Whereas in this case, it was easier because Monica and I were coming up with the idea. I knew where to get
wholesale fabric. I knew how to get it sewn. I had all those pieces. And Monica was handling all the stuff that I was otherwise kind of jobbing out. And then I was able to take on photography. So with Seam, I had to find people to photograph because I didn't have the time to do all of it. And you're forced to do 2 really interesting, very different collections, one for fall and one for spring every year. And by the time fall rolls around, everything's on sale. So you have a really limited window to get your viewership and your sales, right? And it became frustrating. Whereas this was exciting because you weren't, hamstrung in that way. You had the ability to say like, hey, here's a classic collection. Here's a little black dress that's going to work for the rest, all seasons, all years, forever. And so that actually freed me quite a bit. The part I would say the hardest is this stage we're in, I would say kind of for me right now, which is getting to that next step. Like the best way to get to that next step. I was never with Seam able to make it happen online because building your own website wasn't happening when I started Seam. So again, I had to pay to have somebody write the HTML. Now it's at a phase where I can actually use my design skills to create my own website because the coding is set up such and all the stuff that's out there with Squarespace and everything. So I'm able to do it. And now we're able to focus on getting the product out there. And that's feels like the hardest part before. And that's where we are now with Rapt. So.
And the pandemic had, if you could
well, I that was just going to come out of my mouth. I'm like, I go, March 2020 hits. You are now like, I mean, you have it where you're getting media attention. You have a good rhythm of what you're doing. You've gotten a lot of attention where like, I go, we finally got it. And then March 2020 happens. What happens to the company? What happens to everything that you had planned out for this epic year that everyone had planned?
Right, because we had been selling at pop-ups and around town in the Boston area, and had been demonstrating to people because it's not a new idea. It's been around in Japan for centuries, wrapping with cloth, and in many Asian countries, it's just fairly new to the U.S. market. So the idea of wrapping with fabric was new to people, but so we felt like we needed to demonstrate it. So we were at pop-ups at a table, demonstrating people, having them try it. And they, people, when they did it, they saw it was actually very.
We would also invite, there's a puppy dog behind us.
Sorry.
Hearing rolling and growling.
I love it. No, you know what? We bring a lot of people into these conversations. UPS guys, fathers with underwears on. Yep, we just bring them.
I got rid of the squeaky toys so that she wouldn't join the conversation.
But we would always we would do it and then invite the person to do it in front of us. And we'd show them the little card that we have, the 1, 2, 3, 4, and we would invite them to do it. And when they did it, they would always say, that was so much easier. Not just easy, but easier than doing it with traditional paper.
Your kids, that was it.
Yeah, we had this one Christmas like 2 years ago. So my birthday is the 22nd of December. And my oldest was 20 and my youngest was 16. And they went up to wrap my birthday presents. And I said to them, look, the stuff's all there. There's Rapt is in the basket and there's the regular wrapping paper right next to it, scissors and tape in the drawer. And they said, no, Mom, we're not going to use the wrap. We're going to leave that for you so you can wrap the Christmas stuff. And I said, okay, fine, whatever. They came down, every gift, like all of the gifts, which there weren't a ton, but still, they were all wrapped in Rapt fabric. And I looked at them and I laughed and they said, it was just so much easier. We gave up.
Yeah, it's interesting. But so we had these pop-ups and we had, we're getting sales, we were getting some traction. And then when COVID hit, obviously everything was canceled. Stores, we literally just had a sale to the Cordova Museum and that closed. Literally, I was about to deliver it, closed next week. And we were starting to look at museum gift shops because we thought that would be a good place for our product. The ICA had carried it successfully. And so we just kind of, since everyone was shut down, we pivoted to online sales basically. And that's where we focus, which ultimately is where it needs to be anyway. And so we aren't doing wholesale right now. Cindy worked on the website. She built a beautiful website and we worked on our social media. accounts. And
we were told in the we did like a business class thing, Monica and I, and one of the person running it said, your largest barrier to entry here is going to be changing habits. And we
100%.
we
Yeah.
certainly feel that that's the case. And so what we've realized is like even with Seam. So with Seam, we sold to Barney's, and I went down to see it. I went with my siblings, and we all walked in, and ooh, how exciting, right? It's in Barney's. And it was jammed on a rack with like a bunch of other stuff. You couldn't see it. You couldn't tell what it was. It didn't look special, really. So I realized in that moment that the same thing's going to happen with Rapt. And we've even heard it from a store that carried it, which was a sustainable store, Boston General Store. They were saying people don't know even to ask for it. And if they ask for it, they don't really know what to do with it.
Right.
So what we've recognized is that selling at wholesale, it's a bit of a double-edged sword for us because nobody knows to ask or to grab it.
You have the visibility, but you don't have the explanation that goes with it. The
Right.
person who has time to.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes they do. Some small stores do, but.
So our website is where we can show you it's easy. You can look at a tutorial. You can look at like, oh, here's the bottle wrapped and unwrapped. Like we can show you that stuff and hopefully bring it into your consciousness.
Well, I have to say that's one of the things where the pandemic showed a lot of small businesses that e-commerce is a benefit for them. In the brick and mortars, I mean, you're using so much energy trying to get into those big stores, but you're in competition with the world.
Right.
So if you're going to be in competition with the world, why not be on your own footing? So your website, your social media, your advertising, your conversations with people talking about what you do, it makes more sense in regards of, if I'm going to create something, I want to be in total control over who's going to see it and who's going to find it, and explain how it's beneficial. And you're right. Big stores will say, yes, we'll carry it because they want to have more stuff, but they're not going to invest the time in your stuff.
With Barney's, they carried it for one season and it didn't sell. I was told that you had to kind of sell it like 90% the first season at full retail to be continued. But I talked to someone else who was in Barney's and she said, yeah, well, what I do, she lived in New York. She's like, our line is in there and I go in every week. I bring lingerie macaroons. I explain our line to all the saleswomen, and it does beautifully because the person understands what it does. And so the idea, that's the thing, is like, that's why Monica and I sell well, because we stand there and explain it.
Yeah.
We love talking to people.
Yeah.
I couldn't tell that at all. How did you guys take care of yourselves during the pandemic? Because as entrepreneurs, you have a business, it's going well, a pandemic hits, you have a family, both of you have large families. How did you take care of yourselves? Because you're balancing a lot.
Yeah, there's a lot to do. I mean, I did yoga regularly. That really helped. And I got my husband to start doing yoga. And
mine's not going to start that.
I tried to get outside every day. That really helped. And you know, I am not really good about stopping at 5 o'clock because I'm more of like I wish the world ran 10 a.m. to 2 a.m. That's kind of my circadian rhythm, but unfortunately it doesn't. So I'm not great about stopping, and then not working at night, because there's always more to do. As you said, there's just, with just the two of us, especially, there's just always more to do. Mm-hmm. But I just, when I was with my kids were here when the pandemic started. So I spent a lot of time with them and I read. I feel like I actually made time for the things I care about, which the only people you could see really at the time was your family, and I care deeply about them. So that was kind of I hate to even say silver lining, because it's really not.
The thing is, I mean, a lot of people have, again, I work with entrepreneurs and innovators, and there has been a lot of great news out there. And I always tell people, do not condemn your great news or your silver linings just because we were in a pandemic. It's not fair to sit there and hide that there's been because everyone's talking about the bad. I'm like, there's been a lot of amazing, beautiful things. And so don't poo-poo it. And because I tell people, because everyone's like, how are you? I'm like, I live in Marblehead. I had a great year. I got to I'm usually on a plane. I'm usually in a different country. I got to settle in. I got to spend time with friends and family. I loved it. So I tell people, like, yes, it was a horrific time for a lot of people, but for a lot of people, it was not. It was not. It was a time to like
feel the
take
same
note
way.
of what
It was actually
it was a time to take note of what was happening.
yes.
Well, and I think about it in some ways, it might hope to be, I think, a reset a little bit.
Mhm.
Like my sister who's working in California, she's back and forth, she's in the car all the time.
Mhm.
She gets to be home, and her husband's on a plane all the time, and they have 3 little kids. Like now they're home. And so, and going forward, they probably won't be on a plane 5 days a week or, you know, leaving their kids all, and they have the ability to say, hey, you know what? Okay, these 2 days I'm going to stay home, or I need to leave early, because the Zoom connection has really opened all that up for us, which is
absolutely. I mean, I added in, I take Wednesdays off, and everyone's like, what? I take Wednesdays off because one of the things I say to all my clients, I need you to take one day off during the week, because on weekends it's everybody else's time. It's not really your weekend. It's you're running errands and you're doing all these things and things are closed. One day, like Wednesdays, and I make it educational. So I go to museums. I go to different parks. I bring my computer. I just take myself away from the computer, and your mind opens up in a different way. Parks have never been closed. Museums are empty right now. If you want to go to any museum, I mean, it's amazing. So so it's the educational time for you to sit there like, oh yeah, take a breather.
Well, and one thing that did happen, just on the COVID front thing, we got this fabulous amount of beautiful yarn.
Oh yeah.
From where?
From Charlotte Hess, who lives on Nantucket. I think she wishes she lived in Paris, but she lives on Nantucket, and she has a company called Isabel and Cleo, and she makes like handmade sweaters. And I met her.
We met her in Wellesley.
We met her at the trunk show.
Pop-up show. Yeah.
And I connected with her last summer on Nantucket. I was there, and I just said, "You want to have a coffee?" We had a great conversation, and I've always loved everything, all her knits. And so we just started talking. I said, "Do you ever have any leftover yarn that we could buy from you?" And she goes, "Oh my gosh, I have a storage unit that has a huge box yarn." So she gave us her yarn, and it's just got all these beautiful yarns with texture and just beautiful colors.
So we got it, and Monica brought it over to my house, and it was sitting there. But in regular life, right, pre-COVID, it was sitting there, and between just activities and getting around and dropping and picking up, I didn't do anything with it. And then COVID hit, and I started to look at it and just bring it into the den while I was watching way too much television at night.
Sandy's seen every show.
Yeah, I never seen. I always miss everything. And one of the things,
I'm still on Mad Men.
No, yeah,
one embarrassing.
I don't watch any of those things. It's like for me, like people are shocked that I don't own a TV.
Yeah, no,
me neither. I feel like I've missed things. Like I never saw Game of Thrones, but anyway.
No, anyway, I grew up in LA though, so I'll be sitting there and playing with the yarn, and it brought us to this whole new thing, this whole level of Rapt, where we now have accents, we're calling them. And a lot of it is from her yarn. And then I've brought in I had a lot of grosgrain ribbon that I used on seam on the kids' clothes, because it was an accent I loved. And the Lanvin collection used grosgrain so beautifully on his clothes. And so I would use it a lot. And we were able to use it and create these accents. And that, I don't know if that would have happened.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if I would have had the time and the mental space to add that into our creativity.
And it changes the present, because you went from just cloth, where everyone's used to wrapping paper and a bow always, right? Yeah. We now had the wrapping paper, but it's fabric that's reusable, for the lifetime of giving, we like to say. But now we have the equivalent of the bow that's also reusable, right? So because it's made of yarn, and I mean, they're beautiful, and they really bring the present up to a new level. And we made little gift tags those are made of paper. We're trying to be really conscious of our packaging. So we have a small disc. You can write in pencil and reuse it, but it's just a small sort of gift tag that attaches to the present. But so
you guys are making this really easy, because the things that I would ask you, like I go, how did you pivot? Boom. I go, what did you do with yourself? Boom. I mean, so it's so wonderful, because you're just like adding context. What would you say to someone that is listening to you right now, and they have a business that has failed, or a business that is just like it's moving along, but they're just not into it anymore? And what would you say to a person that is just starting something new. They have a job, or they've gotten fired, or they have the job that they don't like, and they've been dying to start something new, but they don't know where to go. So to anyone that's looking to start something, and they've had all these different obstacles, what would you say to them in regards of where to start? What are the highs and the lows?
So we have a good friend that worked as a life coach for a while, and she always said to me that, and my sister has the same experience in her like mid 40s, that a lot of people come saying, I don't like what I do. I got into it because mom told me to be X, or I wanted to do Y, and now I've been doing this for years and I don't like it and I want to pivot. And what our friend Mary says is, you need to pivot, because you're going to go nuts if you stay. And I mean, obviously some people don't have these choices, but if you happen to have that choice, I think one thing we found is you reach out for help. There's a lot of stuff, particularly for women or people of color. There's a lot of places around that are saying to you, do you want financial support? Like we want to help small businesses, and anybody that's minority owned businesses of any type. And so it's out there if you start looking for it, it seems like to us. We've been self-funded at this point, but if it got bigger, you can't sustain all of it. So at some point we'll probably look that direction,
and I think reaching out for help and just finding people like you, because it can be, I think it would be really lonely by yourself. You had people, I know you worked on your own with Seam, but you had the people you hired. Yeah. It was a community for you. And I feel like, Cindy and I are on the phone, on speed dial, obviously. We talk all the time, but we're also friends, which helps, which is just fun. But I would, and just take honestly, I never thought I'd start a business, almost 60, and I just had this idea and I was like, why not? It needs to be done. And then why shouldn't I do it? And
the other thing is, I read somewhere in the course of Seam that every overnight business has actually been in business for at least 5 to 7 years. So I'm sure that's not 100% the case, but with Seam, I started to lose interest and like the 7-year mark. And so there is a part of me that thinks, because I still have people that call me or text me for stuff. And what somebody else said is, when you listen to any of those, like, what's that show? The
How I Built This?
Yeah, the How I Built This show. Yeah. There's always the spot where they almost go under and they keep going, right?
And the friends and family are there.
Whatever,
I think that's key.
It can be anything. So that's what my friend was saying, is that like any success story has that moment in it. So you have to decide if you want to. We have a good friend that started a business that it went bananas eventually, but he said to me, it's all about how long you can hold your breath.
And I love that. Honestly, I love that saying, that it's how long you can hold your breath, because it's really, really true. Where do you think that as things are starting to open up, some places are opening up, some people are cautious. It's all about if people are going to go out anymore. You were in a brick and mortar before, now you're on e-commerce. Where do you think overall retail is going? Not just yes, people went berserk on Amazon, but now that people are starting to go out and about, where is retail, in your opinion, going in regards to the fact that you have your stuff in retail stores, or had your stuff? I don't know if it's still at Barney's, but right now you're seeing, you're not. All right. So right now you're seeing more and more people no longer shopping in big stores. Those big stores, you go to the mall and they're empty. People are walking, but people aren't buying.
Yeah, they're mall walking.
in your opinion, what does this year look like? And overall, what do you think it's going to look like for long term?
It's a good question. I hope that the stores open up. We know a lot of little shops that we just love, and I feel like people are more interested in those little shops now, because you can buy unique things. And so many people say I don't shop on Amazon because they feel like the workers aren't compensated well, and they just can picture, if I'm getting this in 24 hours, what does that mean for the person who's packaging my package? Because what kind of crazy job did they need to do to make that happen? I hear that over and over, and I Amazon's great in terms of they're very successful business, but I think hopefully some of the small businesses will open back up, and people will go back to them and resume shopping.
Well, and also so my husband and I
drove up to Newburyport, Massachusetts to visit his brother. We're all vaccinated and we had dinner up there. And he was saying he had been there like 20 years ago with, he worked with a guy running for Attorney General. And he said it's grown so much. And in the small town where it's these little brick and mortars, they're all open. There's some more restaurants, there's more stores.
Oh, nice.
I have a funny feeling that everyone's so used to the story now on social media and loves it, that people are going to want to be connected.
Mhm.
So yes, the social media helps you connect to the story, but so does the small town brick and mortar. So I think that what's really going to struggle are the big malls, right? So I think those are going to start having a hard time. I think maybe what's going to pivot is they're going to start having this thing where they'll have like condos next to a mall so that people can actually get their marketing, go to the, supermarket there and all that kind of stuff. So that might happen as opposed to this random mall in the middle of nowhere where you go to shop. That I think might shift. And I think it might go, I'm hoping it's going to go back to kind of these small towns.
I 100% love that answer because so I live in Marblehead, and I moved here 12 years ago. And when I first came here, Salem, literally their Chamber of Commerce rocks it when it comes to supporting small businesses because they know that Halloween is not the only sustainable thing for the town. So they develop so many things. And so they brought in this, he's from South Africa, I believe he is. And he is like running the Chamber of Commerce and it's phenomenal. It's absolutely phenomenal. Marblehead, 20,000, we have 20,000 residents. The turnover rate is so high in our small stores and only selected stores stayed open and they pivoted and they were very creative. I'm a runner. So every single day I'd go running and you see these signs, support small businesses. Like, well, if you're not supporting yourself, how can I support you? And I think that's where there's a little breakdown where there are people that pivoted and came up with really crazy, amazing ways to like just get people to for them to stay relevant. They're like, we're not going to make sales, we're not going to hit our numbers, but we just need to stay relevant so that way when we are open, people will come in. And then there are stores that just complained online, and I'm like, you're using that much energy online to complain. Shouldn't you be selling your product as well? And so more and more people, now that things are open, we're seeing more guests because we can't leave the country. So everyone is within, I'm discovering things that are like I went to Deer Island, which I'm in the North Shore. Deer Island, I've flown over Deer Island 10 zillion times to get to Logan. You can't miss those big, huge eggs. They like these big, the poop eggs, as people call it. It's like, it's our place where, for anyone that's listening, it's our place where it's where the poop is cleaned up.
Is it a waste? Yeah.
It's on Deer Island. But it's they've created a whole entire running track. It's a beautiful trail. It's just stunning.
Yeah.
And I'm like, never in a million years. So someone mentioned Deer Island to me, and I'm like, I wonder where that is. And Wednesdays are my days off. I'll go discover. Literally, it is 7 miles from my door.
Wow.
And I took my computer, I spent my day. It was beautiful. And you're looking out into the ocean. It was just gorgeous. And I'm like, we are moving so fast that we're traveling, we're in big stores, we're going places, and we're not discovering things that are local. And that is one of those moments where if the community is promoting, if there's cross promotion of different like pop-up shops, etc., we can get more people to be aware of what we're doing. And this is what you guys did a great job of, like literally like a woman from Nantucket. And then like you just partnered with her and she just gave you something like, I go, aha moments, which is really, really good. And just like the website and just finding other ways.
And then another person another person on Instagram reached out. We were chatting and she was a knitter. And again, someone else who said, happy to give you my scrap yarn. And we're always offered to pay for it because we don't feel like but some people just want to get rid of their yarn. It's just a little remnant. Sometimes it's a little ball, but we can use it. So
yeah.
Who is the best customer for you? Because I went to school. For my MBA, I had to be in Japan. I didn't have to be. I wanted to be, but I had to be in Japan and I had to be in Korea, in Thailand, and it's very much it's like reduce, reuse. There's no Tupperware. Everyone gets their. It's like so fascinating where people are running to go get their train and they have bags. And I'm like, what's in the bag? They're like soup. Everything's in a little bag where, and it's like, and it's amazing, clean, well done, blah, blah, blah. It's all about reducing waste, reducing waste.
That's the,
Very much the culture.
but not so much here.
What is the customer? I mean, like, what is the best customer for you, number one, but also how do you convert? Because I remember the therapeutic times when I was younger and I was in charge of wrapping all those gifts, and I felt it to be very therapeutic. And I could sit there and make it perfect. And I mean, every gift was immaculate. I mean, immaculate. So how do you convert me that I mean, mind you, I've gone to like just throwing it in a bag now, so I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm really lazy now. But how do you convert that person where they just want the tried and true traditional?
What was the question? They want to.
They want the tried and true traditional. So how do you convert that person that wants traditional?
Well, I actually think that that's with these accents that we've added. That's what the kind of the real benefit is, that it now doesn't just look like fabric. It's basically like Martha Stewart wrapped your gift in fabric, because now we've got this amazing accent that sits on top and it elevates it to a level. So if you're somebody, I would say our customer is someone kind of like you that is used to having an immaculate gift to give and likes being able to present something that looks the way they're used to seeing it, but they have this added benefit of it being sustainable, right? So we're calling it Sustainable Gift Wrap Solutions, because it's not just a sheet that you're going to put on. We also give you the accent, we give you a little bit of ribbon, we give you the tag, so that you're soup to nuts.
And it comes in small, medium, large, and extra large, so they're all sizes.
Yeah,
so you can find.
I'm happy you just said that, because again, you're thinking rolling paper, I get to cut it the same size. So thank you very much for saying the size wise. What is the largest that you get, by the way?
It's an extra large. It's the width of a bolt. So if a bolt is 43 inches, usually it's 43 by 43 inches. So it wraps, the Millennial Falcon, Lego set. We're thinking when our kids were little, all those big presents that you had to wrap. And a roll of wrapping paper could never even fit around it. You'd have to snip the little piece and patch it together. And or you just put it in a bag. Yes. Or you put it under the tree, Santa brought it, he didn't have time to wrap, kind of thing. But so that, or a winter coat, something large. Yeah. And then the large wraps a coffee table book, a pair of boots in the box, shoe boxes. Yeah. Medium is more of a journal or a trade paperback, a candle. And then the small is like jewelry, AirPods, a keychain, that kind of thing. So we have all the sizes. And then the idea is you're going to use it. And then, for example, if you go to a party and you want to bring a bottle of wine, everybody uses wine bags, right? And
absolutely,
you have 30 wine bags in your house, right? You always keep them because there's no reason to throw them away.
Or you have the material ones and you feel guilty about keeping it, so you're just waiting for that person to invite you to a party to use their own bag.
So with wrap, you can use a large or even a medium to wrap a wine bottle. Give it to them. It looks beautiful. It looks different. It stands out from the 18 bottles that everybody else brought, so they know at the end of the party who actually brought that wine for them. But and then you can use it, because otherwise those wine bags you can only use for, Dominoes or Jenga, or, there's or another bottle of wine.
There's three things.
There's nothing else that I can think of, maybe, right? A flute maybe. And so this, you can use it to wrap a wine bottle, but then you have this sheet and then you can use it again to wrap a puzzle and give it. So the idea is we aren't doing anything sort of seasonal. We're not finding fabric dreidels, or fabric with Christmas trees, because then you can't use it for your kid's graduation or your boyfriend's birthday or your partner's retirement party.
Yeah, we're trying to do, pivoting off seam to do something that's what we're calling evergreen.
Yeah.
Right. You can use it all year round, and then you just change the accent on top. So if you have the red sheet, you can do it with white or with yellow in the summer, and then you can do it with green if you happen to celebrate Christmas, right? And then all of a sudden it shifts. Yep. So, and when we started, when we would talk to people, we'd always say, Monica pays it forward. She's going to give it to you.
Yep.
And then, you're going to pass it on to the universe, right? I was like, yeah, I'm not giving it to anybody. I'm keeping it. I'm keeping it in my bedroom, because I got Father's Day, birthdays, anniversary. I want enough for everything. So I'm keeping it here. So
but you're keeping it, but you're not getting it back unless you're saying, hey, by the way, open it and give it back to me.
Everyone always asks us
Well,
that.
no, but
Like, she's keeping it because she's reusing it. And I actually keep some too, but people always say, well, can you ask for it back? I'm like, it's up to you. It depends on your relationship, right?
Yeah.
When you give someone a present, you take back the bag you give it to them in, so it's kind of one of those.
Well, you know what? People see it as, people are probably seeing it like Tupperware, unlike a gift. Like because I mean, Tupperware, some people are really territorial about it. They're like, can I come back and collect my Tupperware? So people might become very territorial.
I heard a whole thing about Oprah. Like she gets really mad if someone doesn't give her Tupperware.
I do too, because you know what? Because if I'm putting, it's not the Ziploc one. I mean, I buy really good Tupperware, and so sometimes it's glass, the glass one. I'm like, I kind of want that back. It's not a gift.
Yeah.
Well, and this, like,
right, yeah.
So we ran into one woman. We were doing a show, and she grew up in Japan. And she said, in Japan, what you do is you give a gift to a friend, a good friend, and you wrap it in cloth fabric, and then they hold on to it. And like you're saying about the wine bag, they give it back to you. So this is the thing that you wrap your friendship love, comes back and forth. I'm not that organized. I would never remember.
Where was that sheet?
Label it. I go, and this is Jodi's sheet. Let's use it for Jodi's present.
Yeah, but the idea is that if everybody starts using these, and other companies will pop up and they'll do the dreidels and the Christmas trees around, but the idea is they'll be in circulation. Yes. So just like those 25 wine bags, we'll all have these different sheets that we can use, but we're not going to throw things away, right? We're going to start making, and it's interesting because I wouldn't describe myself as, I was eco-conscious, but having done this, I'm now more eco-conscious, and I'm now looking at other products, other places where I could replace in my life,
Well, like she said to me the other day, I don't think we're supposed to have sponges anymore.
No, just you begin to educate yourself, honestly. Yeah. Like I feel like it's never too late to change a habit, never too late to start thinking about these things.
Well, in the minute you have social media that has like #sustainable, you're getting everything.
Yeah.
Well, it's so funny. So I'm first generation born in America, and and literally, like, I go to Florida to my mom's house, and I'm like, Mom, you're wasting too much paper. And because I use it, I have a cloth, and I do laundry, and here it goes. And she looked at me and she laughed. She's like, you know what? You have to pick and choose your battles. I go, I eat meat. And do you know what? I eat meat. I go to the butcher's, I order my meat, and I use all of the whatever I'm going to eat. I go, so if I waste a paper here or there, I'm okay with that. And she goes, by the way, how long was that shower? I'm like, oh, touche, Mom, touche.
Yeah, no, for sure. And no one's perfect. Small steps, right?
Yeah.
But it's just interesting how many people are starting businesses making products that with sort of similar idea, kind of reduce. There's other ways of doing things. Do we need a toothpaste tube? There are these little tablets now. They're like a Tic Tac almost. You can use to brush it. Just interesting to me, And
no, people are definitely being creative without a doubt. 2 more questions before we're done. Because this again, we just start talking, and I always tell people, I go, this is like a conversation. Well, it is a conversation. This is not an interview. This is just like conversation of me wanting to know things.
You're fun to talk to too, Jodi. So
thank you.
That helps.
Well, I was gonna say, your family. So you guys have been on this journey of just doing. Whether it was like in your graphic design, whether it was like teaching French and Spanish, whether it is like the clothesline. What does your family think? There's 7 children. There's 7 children. There are 2 husbands. There's it's more than the Brady Bunch. So what do they think when you're like, they're like, can you not just sit still and just, I don't know, be a mom? What are they thinking about what you're doing? And have any of them adopted the entrepreneurship in their lives? Or entrepreneur.
My son wants to be an entrepreneur.
Our question, I would say our answers are slightly different.
Yeah, my kids were really excited. They were just really, I think they were a little perplexed at first, and then they were just really excited about the idea.
And you did sit still, and you were a mom for years.
Oh yes,
right?
Yes. So I never sit still. I'm just not a sit still person. But I did. I was home for a long time, so they definitely. Believe me, I nagged them enough. I've got my hours in there. No, I've been with them a long time, and I've loved being with them. But I'm empty nester now, and it's funny because my oldest son, who wants to be an entrepreneur himself, he always is talking about starting something up, and so he's really. It's interesting for him. He has so much good advice. He's always giving me advice, which is great. And then he said at one point, Mom, you can take my bedroom if you need more space. And I was like, literally took his bedroom. And he lives in New York now. The next day, and there's shelves. He comes home. He came home and surprised me for Mother's Day. And She goes, boy, my room's really changed because now there's shelves, there's inventory, there's an iron board. So it's kind of funny, but they're very supportive. And they're always calling me saying, I have a birthday party. Would you send me some Rapt? Like, I feel bad that I've given them some to just have, but, and I actually,
send me, or can I place an order?
No, send me some, no, send me some Rapt so I can, but it's funny because with my 25-year-old son, it was celebrating his birthday, pre-pandemic, was celebrating his birthday in New York, and we had a small party. I wrapped everything in Rapt for him. It was kind of, a large family gathering, but in a small restaurant. And I sort of secretly took the Rapt back because I figured, oh, he'll never use it, So I kind of put it in my purse. And then 2 days later, he's like, Mom, what happened to the Rapt for my present? I was like, oh, sorry, James. I took it. I didn't think you'd use it. He goes, oh, no, I wanted to use it for my friends. Like, he would have.
Oh,
actually,
that's awesome.
Not exactly our demographic, 25-year-old boy. Most people who buy gift wrap are women, not to be sexist, but that is the demographic. And so
guys usually just give gifts or money, or like take you to the bar or something.
So anyway, it's just kind of interesting to see this generation's really, when we're at pop-ups and there's younger people who are college kids, or we did a pop-up at Northeastern, kids were really excited about it.
Yeah, there's definitely enthusiasm in that age. They just don't have the expendable. Yeah,
they
so
don't
they can't collect it, but they like buying it for like a gift for mom to. So for me, I would say I love being a mom, but I was going stir crazy. Like, making peanut butter sandwiches was not enough. My head was going to explode. So it all like ended up in the kids line for me, and I needed that. Like, even during COVID, I've been making clothes just for fun. I just needed a different
creative outlet.
An outlet that tapped into something that was separate than parenting, right? Which it's maybe arguably creative, but not really for me. So I
love your honesty. You're the best. I love it.
Yeah, I just needed that. And I recognized that. And my husband recognized that. So he was very supportive with Steam when I was like, I gotta try this or I'm gonna lose my mind. And then now I think he just gets it. Like, I'm just gonna keep throwing things out there. And my sisters do too. So I don't think it's a surprise. On my kids, they're a little bit younger. And I would say they're just not, they use it, but they don't think about it as much as Monica's kids. But on the entrepreneurial side, I'm not sure yet, but I do have one kid that wants to be a jazz musician. So that's an entrepreneurship.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean,
business, right?
The musicians right now, the artists, you see, they've all been finding different ways because they haven't been on stage.
Well, he's in college, so he hasn't gotten to that place where he has to fight for it yet, but he will definitely have to tap into that skill when he gets there.
Nice. Oh my God. This is like so much fun. And it is always shocking to me because I clearly must be picking great people because hour goes by really quickly. Goes by really fast. So my last
say that my husband has been my board of advisors since the beginning, just to give him some credit, right?
Definitely. Yeah, she's definitely asked him more questions. My husband's like, yeah, no, do whatever you want.
I don't want to know. I don't want to know. Yeah. All right. So the last question that I will be asking, and I ask this no matter how many times I talk to you guys, because this isn't the last time, I will really find other ways to keep the conversation going so that way more people are aware of you on different times. If you had a personal ask and a professional ask of anyone that's listening to you, what would it be? So I want an answer from Cindy and an answer from Monica, whoever wants to go first, but you have to have a personal ask and a professional ask each, please.
Can you just help me a little on the personal ask in terms of how it affects the business, or?
Nope, it's just for you. It's all about you. Cindy, it's all about you right now. Everything, whatever that comes out of your mouth, it's about you.
Okay, I have an idea. Send me on a personal ask. Sorry, I just jumped ahead of you.
No,
on the personal ask, send me your favorite book you read last year.
Oh,
that's just one. Like on a person, because I love reading, but and I have to read good books. And so send me your favorite book. And do you want me to go? You want to do personal?
No, go.
And then I think on the professional level, for me, I think it would be helpful to have someone to help us with social media marketing.
Okay.
There's a lot of pieces to that, but I'm just going to put it's just a broad category.
Yeah. So for the business piece, I guess it's related, but the idea of information on well, I guess it's two I can think of, like how to get this out there, this idea out there more broadly. So we're doing it, but we just don't know where to spend our money, so in that space, like I can do all those things, but to have more of a fine-tuned plan, and neither one of us have the MBA, which you have. So we're kind of guessing.
The MBA, I got that MBA in 2009 when the world imploded last time.
Jodi, how did you find us?
One of my interns found you.
Wow, that's very
one of my interns. Last year I was very lucky that I had the most amazing interns. And the funny thing is so last year I have amazing interns all the time. I've always had a virtual internship program so that way kids can learn from other kids all over the world. But this one was my spring intern, and Madison is the daughter. She is she's in private school, she's in private high school. She's a junior, and Madison is a 16-year-old daughter of Jen, and Jen was my camper at a teen travel camp when Jen was 17.
No.
Shows my age there. Wow. Yeah, it's cool. Yeah. So Madison.
Such a small world.
Do you happen to know where she found it?
You know what? I can ask her. I can ask.
Yeah. Because we always are hunting around trying to figure that out. But
yeah.
The other thing is we have found with the media that we've gotten recently, that's where it's coming from. It feels like is the 22-year-old that's working somewhere.
Madison's in Pennsylvania, and she found you.
Wow, interesting.
That is very cool. I wonder if it's a Facebook ad. Anyway.
Yeah.
And my personal ask is 1 pot meals, please.
That's good. I like that.
I do. I'm kind of I like cooking, but I'm kind of done. So
the good news is is so different. We're very compatible in business because we're very different.
Yeah,
and
we are very
when I'm she has to talk me off the ledge sometimes. So
you're yin and yangs. You're a yin and yang, which is perfect because everyone needs that, which is great. Sorry. So Monica, I have 2 books for you. One I haven't read and one I live and die by. The Women Who Run with Wolves. So one of the interns that I just interviewed, she's like, give me a book that you would recommend. And she's like, oh my God, what a cool question. Women Who Run with Wolves.
Okay. Easy to read.
That's one of them. And I haven't read it yet. It's on my list. The one that I love, Chandra Rhimes, The Year of Yes.
Oh. I love Chandra Rhimes.
Yeah.
I love her because she went to school here. She's a New England kid all the way. But I love her because of what she's accomplished. But The Year of Yes was that was the book that showed that she was human because she moves so fast. And her sister says, you say no to everything. So she did A Year of Yes.
Oh, she said yes to everything. Cool.
Because it opens you up to opportunities. And I live in that world. I love saying yes to things because people are like, you do the most random things. I'm like, I do because why not? I live in the world of why not.
So, you only live once, right? Say yes to things. Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's what I always tell my kids. Say yes to things. Sign up.
We've been trying to do that with Rapt. There's this thing called Good for Her, which is a group of women, and I reached out because why not?
Why not?
You never know what somebody might say and bring to your company, and it grows.
And you always meet someone interesting, and there always people with interesting.
100%. Well, you know what? I feel like we live in
a line dancing.
Well, the thing is, I did I lived in Texas, so there you go. But the other thing is, we live in a world where everyone is so quick to say no, so quick to say I'm an imposter. All these words are being thrown out. I grew up in a world where my first generation born here, my parents were like, we didn't work so hard for us to come to America, for you to have every opportunity, for you to be afraid, for you to feel like you're an imposter, to feel that you're going to say no to things. That's unacceptable to us. That's a disservice to us. It's unacceptable. So whenever I'm on stage and some young person always says, what do you think about the imposter syndrome? I'm like, that's a word that was created on MTV, by the way, because I made my interns look. Imposter syndrome and cancel culture came from MTV.
Interesting.
No, in the late 80s, and someone wrote a book on it, and it became this thing. And I'm like, the younger people are living off of these words that were created in the late 90s, early 80s. And I'm like, you know what? I just live. I live. I just do it, and we live, and we make mistakes, and we apologize, and we make mistakes, and we learn. But honest to goodness, it's kind of cray-cray right now. So
yeah.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
this is fun. This is
This
fun to
was
talk
wonderful.
to you.
Her computer's almost dead.
I know, that's what I was going to say.
I know. Well, you know what? And this is perfect time because we're done. We're done.
Thank you, Jodi,
Well,
and thank you
yes.
for reaching out. That was really sweet of you, and we really enjoyed the conversation.
You have a fabulous energy, Jodi.
I'm silly, but also I love learning from people. And you guys have, I mean, your stories are different, but they're just so great. And I love how you guys balance each other. So yay. And I would
And
do whatever
Jodi-
it takes to make sure that you guys are like out there.
We'd love to send you a package.
Yes.
So we'll
Oh my
we'll
God, you're
talk
so
to
cute.
offline and get your address.
I go even better. I like to buy a pot. I like to buy one.
We'd like to give it.
I know.
We'll arm wrestle and decide.
Do you like blue, red, or neutrals?
Oh, I'm all about earth tones, blue.
Okay,
Okay.
blue. Okay.
You guys are so cute. Oh my God. Thank you for taking the time. This is
Thank
so
you for
awesome.
reaching out.
Yeah. Thank you. This is what. Yeah. We need to tell people about it to hopefully make it happen.
We can't learn about your project unless we know who you are first.
Exactly. All right. Hopefully we'll see you at CIC at some point.
Oh my God, that'd be so cool. I know when I decide to go back there one day.
I know.
Bye guys.
Thank you.